The medical bay of the Human Research Station fell silent as the Crithian warship descended through Earth's atmosphere. Dr. Mia Chen stood beside the small cryopod, her hand resting gently on its transparent surface. Inside lay the body of Zelther, a juvenile Crithian who had crash-landed on Earth 3 months ago. "They're here," Kevin Martinez announced from the communications console, his voice tight with tension. As the station's chief diplomat, he had negotiated this meeting, but nothing could prepare them for what was coming. The Crithians were a warrior species, ancient and proud. They did not forgive easily, and they certainly did not forget. Mia looked down at the small alien form in the pod. Zelther had been barely alive when the recovery team found him in the wreckage. His ship had malfunctioned during a routine patrol, sending him spiraling into Earth's gravitational pull. The child for that was what he had been. Despite his reptilian features and crystalline scales had suffered catastrophic injuries. "Mia, you need to step back," Kevin said, approaching her. "When they see him like this, there's no telling how they'll react." She shook her head. "I'm not leaving him. Not now." The docking bay doors hissed open with pneumatic precision. Heavy footfalls echoed through the corridors as the Crithian delegation made their way to the medical bay. There were 5 of them, each standing nearly 8 feet tall, their armored bodies moving with predatory grace. At their center walked Commander Velcar, Zelther's mother. The doors to the medical bay slid open. Velcar's eyes, 3 of them, arranged in a triangular pattern, immediately locked onto the cryopod. Her scales, normally a deep emerald, flickered with patterns of grief red and anger black. The universal translator at her throat crackled to life. "You have kept my son's body preserved," she said, her voice a low rumble that seemed to vibrate through the floor. "This is acceptable. We will perform the death rites here and return him to the stars." Kevin stepped forward, his diplomatic training keeping his voice steady despite the fear coursing through him. "Commander Velcar, with respect, there's something you need to understand." "There is nothing to understand, human," Velcar interrupted, her protective guards moving closer. "My cub is dead. You humans found him, and for that, we acknowledge a debt. But our business here is concluded." Mia's voice cut through the tension like a blade. "He's not dead." The room froze. Every Crithian I fixed on the small human woman who dared to contradict their commander. "Explain," Velcar demanded, her hand moving instinctively to the plasma weapon at her side. Mia tapped the control panel beside the cryopod. The holographic display sprang to life, showing complex medical readouts, neural patterns, and cellular activity. "When we found Zelther, he was clinically dead by both our standards and yours. His heart had stopped, brain activity had ceased, and his body temperature had dropped below sustainable levels." "Then how?" one of the guards began. "We didn't give up," Kevin interjected. "That's not what we do," Mia continued, her fingers dancing across the controls. "We studied Crithian physiology from every database we could access. We consulted with xenobiologists, trauma surgeons, and even theoretical physicists. Your species' biology is based on crystal and carbon matrices, completely different from our organic chemistry. But we found similarities, patterns in how cells communicate, how neural pathways form." The hologram shifted, showing a 3-dimensional map of Zelther's body. Tiny points of light pulsed throughout the image. "We developed a new type of nanomicroscopic machines that could interface with Crithian cellular structure. It took us 6 weeks just to create the first prototype that wouldn't be rejected by his immune system." Velcar moved closer to the pod, her scales shifting to patterns of confusion blue. "But the death rites. The mourning period has passed. We felt his consciousness fade across the quantum link. The link was severed because of the trauma," Mia explained gently. "But we rebuilt the connections, synapse by synapse. The nanites acted as temporary bridges while his own neural pathways regenerated. It's been slow, painstakingly slow. But, Commander, your son is alive." As if responding to his mother's proximity, the monitors attached to the cryopod began to spike. Zelther's primary heart rate increased. The temperature reading shifted. Kevin pulled up another display. "We've kept him in suspended animation to give his body time to heal. The nanites have been working around the clock, repairing cellular damage, reconnecting neural pathways, even helping regenerate his damaged respiratory membranes. We were waiting, hoping that you would come before we attempted to wake him. Velcar's massive hand reached out, pressing against the cryopod's surface. Through the transparent material, they could all see the small rise and fall of Zelthar's chest, breathing, living, existing against all odds. Why? The word came out as barely a whisper from the Crithian commander. Why would you expend such resources, such effort, for a child not of your species? We are not allies. We barely know each other's civilizations. Mia smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. Because that's what humanity does. We see someone in need, someone suffering, someone dying, and we can't just walk away. It doesn't matter if you have scales or skin, 2 hearts or 1. If you're from Earth or from a star we can't even pronounce. A child needed help, and we had the ability to try. That was enough, Kevin added. We've made mistakes as a species, too many to count. But somewhere along our evolution, we developed this stubborn refusal to accept death when there's even the smallest chance at life. Some call it arrogance. Others call it hope. We just call it being human. Velcar turned to face them fully, and for the first time since entering the medical bay, her aggressive stance softened. Her scales rippled with colors they had never seen before, deep purples and soft golds that the translator couldn't interpret, but felt like gratitude, like wonder, like a mother's relief. Wake him, she said. Please. Mia nodded and began the revival sequence. The cryopod's temperature slowly increased. The sedatives in Zelthar's system began to metabolize. Minutes passed like hours as they all watched the monitors, waiting for signs of consciousness. Then, slowly, Zelthar's 3 eyes began to open. Unfocused at first, they wandered across the ceiling before settling on the massive figure beside his pod. Recognition sparked in those alien eyes, and a small sound, something between a chirp and a purr, emanated from his throat. Mother. The translator rendered the word. Though it carried emotional weight that technology could never fully capture, Velcar's composure shattered. The warrior commander, who had conquered worlds and led fleets into battle, pressed her forehead against the cryopod and wept. Kevin and Mia quietly stepped back, giving the family their moment. As they reached the doorway, Kevin whispered, "Think this changes things between our species." Mia watched as the other Crithians gathered around the pod, their scales all displaying colors of joy and amazement. "I think it changes everything." They came expecting to collect a body and perform funeral rites. Instead, they found out what happens when humanity refuses to give up on a life. "Humans," Velcar's voice called out, stopping them before they could leave. She turned to face them, her son now awake and alert in the pod beside her. "The Crithian Empire does not forget debts. But more than that, we do not forget allies. You have shown us something we thought existed only in ancient legends, a species that values life above all else, even the life of their potential enemies." She placed her hand over her primary heart in what they would later learn was the highest salute of respect in Crithian culture. "You asked why you should save my son. Perhaps the better question is, how could we have ever doubted a species capable of such compassion?" As the medical team began the process of safely removing Zelthar from the cryopod, Kevin turned to Mia with a slight smile. "You know what this means, right? We're going to have a lot more alien patients showing up at our door." Mia laughed, wiping away her own tears. "Good. Let them come. Let the galaxy learn what humanity truly is, not warriors, not conquerors, not explorers seeking glory. Just people who refuse to let death have the final word when there's still hope for life." And in that medical bay, surrounded by 2 species who hours ago had been strangers, a new understanding was born. The Crithians had come to claim their cub's lifeless body. Instead, they found the beating heart of humanity's greatest strength, the unwavering belief that every life, no matter how different, deserves a chance to continue. Zelthar's recovery would take months more, but he would make it. And the story of the humans who refused to give up on an alien child would spread across the galaxy, changing perceptions, building bridges, and proving that sometimes the greatest victories are won not through weapons or technology, but through the simple, stubborn determination to care.